thank you, Dan, and everybody else who I just cut in line. So I will be brief. I have to run out to another event in Brooklyn. But first, before I say a few words about our new council member, let me just recognize my other council colleagues who are here. And it's a pretty good turnout, Dan, for a brand new council member. Let me tell you, we have our Deputy Majority Leader, Leroy Comrie. We have my neighbor to the north in Manhattan, the Upper West Side, Gail Brewer. Called one of the newest council members, but a really amazing addition to the council. We're very lucky to have him, Councilmember Eric Ulrich. Our minority leader, Jimmy Otto, who's all the way former council members Tom Ogdenbeni and Mike Abel with us. Former council member David Weprin. The Queens Republican delegation, a small businessman we're very excited to have joining us, Peter Koo. I know we're and former Assembly member, but much more importantly now, Council member Mark Webber. I just want to thank Councilmember Halloran and Dan for inviting me to be part of today's event. I know this was a very long and hard-fought campaign, and Dan brought to it a tremendous and deep love for Bayside and all the neighborhoods in this district, and a tremendous and deep love for the district he calls home. And there's nothing more you can ask of in a council member than somebody who loves the neighborhoods he represents and who really sees them as a home. And I know he is going to bring that commitment, his belief in individual rights, his love of his family to the city council. Now, he did just mention that to me that he was excited about reinvigorating the Irish caucus. Now, I told him there's one rule, though. Any caucus the speaker is a member of has to vote unanimously based on the speaker's position, so he just has to be willing to take that on. But I'm very excited about having Dan join us. I already can tell you, when he was still council member-elect, he was at City Hall. He was in the Speaker's office. He was calling the Speaker's staff. He was at Council School. So he showed even before he was getting paid to do the job that this was a job he was going to do with gusto, with passion, and commitment to all of the voters in his district. And we're lucky to have him.
Speaker Quinn. At this time, we can't let the majority be heard without the minority, so we're going to ask Minority Leader for the Republican Party and Council seat, James Otto, to speak. Let me just say it's wonderful to be back in Queens County. I first started coming out here politically and professionally in 1994 when I worked for then Minority Leader Tom Ogdenbeni. And I got to meet really great, not only really great Republicans, really great New Yorkers like Tom and Mike Abel, Al Stabile, Senator Padovan, my friend Herb Stuck. And I also got to see how colorful politics could be, which was a great training for my own crazy borough of Staten Island and our politics. So, and lo and behold, in 2003, I fell in love with a young lady from Queens. And I have such an affinity for this borough. When I first got reelected in November of 1999, I was accused by my opponent of actually living in Queens County, which was untrue, nothing against Queens County. I'm actually very honored that Dan asked me to say a few words. Well, when you first meet Dan, one thing is quite evident. He's big. And I'm not talking about his physical stature. I'm saying big intellect, big personality. And this is not a reach to say with some certainty that Dan Halloran is going to have an immediate impact on the City Council. I'm sorry the Speaker left so quickly because I wanted to say in front of her, the City Council is a place where people of different backgrounds come together. And no member is left behind because of his or her ideology or party affiliation. And your success as a council member, or your success is predicated on your work ethic, on your integrity, and on your passion. And in the few times that Dan and I have met and spoken, that is quite evident. I want to give him one piece of advice. The Italian kid from Staten Island is going to quote a fellow Irishman, and that's the late Tim Russet, who wrote a very impassioned letter to his son Luke on the first day he dropped him off at college for the first time. And it's 3 simple imperatives that I've tried to live my life since I read these words. And it's counsel to Dan. I think he will follow them and he will be a great success. Study hard, laugh often, and keep your honor. And I have to say one personal thing. Anyone in this room who is even remotely familiar with politics here in Queens County is very aware that the Republican delegation has 5 members, 3 of whom are from Queens. And I want to tip my hat to Dan, to Eric, and to Peter, because in their first act as a council member-elect, put their personal ambition, which would have been natural, aside for the interests of their constituents. And the people of the 19th District should know that Dan Halloran's first act as an elected official was to put their interests first. And that's, frankly, that's very rare. I want to tell you one quick story and one quick quote, and we'll get off the stage. Guy's walking down the street, falls into a hole. The walls are too steep, he can't get out. He's standing there looking up. A guy walks by, he says, "Hey, can you help me?" It's a doctor. He writes a prescription, throws it in the hole, moves on. Second guy walks by, it's a priest. The guy in the hole says, "Father, can you help me? I'm stuck here in the hole." Writes a prayer, throws it in the hole. A little while later, a friend walks by. He says, "Hey, Joe, I'm stuck in the hole. Can you help me?" Joe jumps down in the hole. The guy says, "What are you, stupid? Now we're both in the hole." He said, "Yeah, but I've been here before and I know my way out." I'm not saying, lest anyone believe here, I'm not saying the city council or public service is a hole. I'm saying it is a job. I can see it now, Otto insults his profession. I'm saying that it is a job that requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of Dan's family, sacrifice of Dan's friends, sacrifice by Dan. And there are times you do feel like you're in a hole. You do feel like you are alone. And my commitment to the people of the 19th District, my commitment to Dan is that I will do everything in my power, the 20 years I've been doing this, having learned from some really good people, to help him deliver for this district. And I will close on this, and this is from the "you can't make this up" category. I got an email last night on my council web address, and I'll read it to you. "Congratulations. I look forward to your continuing to bring common sense back to government as you have for the past several years. I'd like to ask you for a favor. Many years ago, one of my co-workers at New York's NYC OMB was a Dan Halloran who lived in Queens and unfortunately passed away at much too young of age. He left a wife and says 5 children. I see one of your minority council members from Queens is named Dan Halloran, and I wonder if it's possible that this young man is my former co-worker's son. If he is, he has a lot to be proud of. His father was loved by all who knew him and was one of a kind. I'd appreciate it if you would let me know when you get a chance in your busy schedule if in fact he is my friend's son." Dan, you pay our parents back in pride, and you have already done that, and you do that even more so today and for the next 4 years. Be well, my friend. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, at this time, we'd ask for Rabbi Yoshi to step up to do the invocation. Rabbi?
I feel